Okay, Book Bosses, this is video 2 in our Booth 101 series. So this is going to be all about what to do at your booth to make it successful. Now, one of the things that I highly recommend in our back office under trainings, there is a recording of a training called Booking at Booths by Bobby Giles, and it is absolutely wonderful. I've watched it multiple times, and it's a great one for beginner booth people, and even if you've done booths before, it has some great tips, and I even go back occasionally for a refresher. So I highly recommend finding that recording and checking it out. Now, if you have the opportunity to help someone at a booth, I highly encourage you to take it. If you're helping someone at their booth, then you probably will not get paid for it, but you will be able to keep any bookings or leads that you collect while you are there, which is totally awesome because you don't have to figure out, or you don't have to worry about paying back your vendor fee, and you don't have to worry about taking out consignment and all of this setup. And you do want to make sure that you're trying to help them get sales because they do need to get their vendor fee back. But it gives you a great way to kind of get some training and try a booth and learn how to do it without having the financial investment of paying for your own. So I highly recommend helping out at a booth, getting some leads, getting some training while you're helping out another consultant. One of the things that we used to use at a booth are prize slips, and I don't really use them as much anymore, but it was just a slip that we made, or I think they have some in our supply store if you want to get those, and it just collects people's information for you, and that way you can contact them later. It'll ask them if they're interested in doing a home party, or if they're interested in the business, or if they know of a school or library that would like some more information. Now, if I can't, I only use them now for people who are thinking about doing a party, but they don't want to pick a date yet. So I'll use those to collect their information so I can contact them later. Or if I have a booth that's a central checkout and I'm not going to be there, I actually will do a prize drawing, and that way I get to collect people's information because I'm not going to be there in order to get bookings, and so that's one way that I can kind of offset that. So you are probably going to need to bring some change with you because a lot of people still pay in cash these days. I usually try and bring about $60 to $80 in cash. A lot of ones, some change, 5s, 10s. Most people are going to want to pay with a card though, which I love. It's super easy. I use a little square that I can just hook into my phone. I think you can also do PayPal, and there might be some other ones, but I love the square. They charge just a small fee in order to process the cards. If you want to have a receipt book, you can get receipt books in our supply store. Square will actually email them a receipt, so I've been using that mostly lately, but if you do want a paper receipt book, you can get those from our back office. One of the things that Bobby Giles says in her training is that you want to be like a butterfly at your booth. So when customers are coming and going, you don't want to hover while they're in your booth. You don't want to be standing right next to them all the time. It gets kind of claustrophobic in there. So you want to just kind of flutter and flit back and forth between the different customers, answer questions, strum a book here and there, offer your special, and just kind of go back and forth. I like to stand at the front of my booth, and that way as people are going by, I can say hi, kind of welcome them into my booth if they look like they might be headed that way. If they start looking at books, I'll ask them if they've ever heard of Usborne Books before. If they have not, then I will usually say something like, we're a company that makes awesome books for kids. We try to make learning fun. So our books are very bright colored, lots of touchy-feelies, lots of information inside of them. I also make sure to mention that I have 2 specials. The specials that I offer are if you buy 4 books, you get 1 free. And then the other special that I do is if they host a party, Facebook or home party, I offer an extra $20 in free books on top of all their other hostess rewards. So I make sure to tell them our specials if they actually come into the booth or if they're kind of looking at stuff from the outside of the booth. Now if they come into the booth, then that's when you kind of flit around, have you seen a Shine a Light book before? Kind of demo it for them. Have a flashlight there so you can show them how the Shine a Light works. Let them browse. Ask them what ages of kids they might be looking for, so you can kind of point out some titles that would be a good fit for them. If they hang around for a few minutes, I'll actually come out and ask them, you know, hey, are you interested in doing a party and getting a bunch for free? And also, if they are checking out, I make sure to ask them during the checkout process two things. The first thing I ask them is, if they just have a couple of books, I'll say, hey, you know, our special is buy four, get one free. Are you interested in doing that today? And sometimes they'll say no, but sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And they'll pick up a couple more books in order to fill that. And it helps boost the sales. The other thing I ask is, hey, are you interested in doing a party and getting a whole bunch for free? Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, and sometimes they kind of hem and haw. If it's a no, no worries, you know, not everybody's a party person, and that's okay. If they say yes, I've got my calendar out. These are the dates that I have available. Which one would work for you? Now, if they say maybe, or kind of hem and haw, or I don't know, I was kind of thinking about it, but I'm not sure. Maybes really mean yes, but you have to talk me into it. They have some concerns. So if there's a maybe, I will pull my calendar out, and I will say something like, well, if we were to do a party for you, I like to do parties on Wednesdays and Thursdays. If we were to do a party for you, which one of those days do you think would work best for your schedule? And they'll usually tell me like a Thursday or something, and I'll be like, okay, well, I have this Thursday or this Thursday available. Would one of those work for you? And a lot of times that's all it takes, is just being, you know, wording it a little bit differently makes it not sound quite so intimidating, and they'll go ahead and pick a date. If they are really hesitant and don't want to pick a date, a lot of times I'll say something like, well, let's just pick a pretend date and get it on the calendar. I'll give you your hostess packet, and if we need to change the date around later, we can totally do that later. And then they will, a lot of times they'll pick a pretend date, knowing that they can change it later, and that's just fine. If they're still really hemming and hawing, that's when I'll probably just take their information and call them later. That's when those prize slips kind of come in handy. Now, one of the things that you're going to want to remember is that bookings off of booze do not hold as well as a booking off of a party. I'm not sure if it's because they haven't ever done a party before, and so they don't know what it's going to be like, and they get intimidated and scared later. But the faster you can build your relationship with them, the better. Otherwise, there's a greater chance that they're going to cancel. So while they're at the booth, if you have time, sometimes they're in a rush to get out, but if you have time, make sure, okay, you have to get their phone number on your calendar with their name. Okay, that way you can call them later. If you have time, go ahead and friend them on Facebook as well. And that way you have those two different ways to contact them. And then I would make sure and send them a message like, I'm so excited for your party. At least like soon, like get started on your hostess coaching like later that evening or the next morning. The sooner, like I said, the sooner you can start building those relationships, the better. And get them excited, keep them excited. And keep that flowing. If you kind of wait a little while, wait a few days, wait a week, the longer you wait, the more they're going to forget about how cool the books were at the booth. And their excitement is going to wane, and they are going to be more likely to cancel. So go ahead and keep them excited. Get those bookings on your calendar. Let me know if you have any other questions on booze. I'm happy to help you out. Your team leader's probably happy to help you out as well. And we'll talk to you later. Good luck!